Hello and welcome back to Crit and Crit. I'm Scint.
I'm Axion.
And we are apparently on a boat in the sky as we continue our discussion of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince and our playthrough of Final Fantasy. What did you do?
I went back. There's a couple things I forgot to do before going into the final dungeon, so... But go ahead, carry on.
Final Fantasy V. So, today we are going to talk about the importance of role models. Why are role models important?
Well, this was mentioned in passing in a prior episode, but... Role models give someone an idea of what to look forward to and expect, and a model to follow. They serve as an example to base one's activities on and give an impression of what's the proper, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, they serve as a role model. It's one of those things that's kind of self-explanatory and it's hard to put into words otherwise.
And there are several characters over the course of the series that function as role models for various characters. For this book in particular, I want to focus on the ones that are actually here. We have Dumbledore for Harry, and then for Malfoy we have Snape. Where would you like to begin?
Let's start with Dumbledore. Since, well, he's Dumbledore. He's gonna dumble.
Yep. Do you think Dumbledore is a good role model?
That is a tricky question.
Yeah, isn't it? Honestly, both of them fall into that, give me a second category in terms of are they good role models? It's like, on the one hand, are they competent and successful wizards with a respected position and a lot of information that they can pass down to those underneath them?
I mean,
Yes.
yeah, that part's true.
Yeah, and it's not uncommon for a student. Your role model may very well be a teacher, an administrator, a coach, etc. So, this is not too far out of the realm of possibility and common habit.
On the other hand, Dumbledore is Dumbledore. And as we have stated multiple times over the course of this review and the preceding ones, Dumbledore has a habit of doing whatever the heck he wants because it is part of whatever scheme he has going on, with seemingly little consideration for the well-being of the people that he gets involved in his plans.
The emotional toll on those around him. This is strategically the best option, even though it's going to put an incredible strain on those around him. Harry has fielded this, I think, more than most, except for possibly Professor McGonagall. Like, when we first see Dumbledore in this book, he has contacted Harry to say that he will be picking him up from the Dursleys on this day at this time. Harry doesn't believe it. So, but Harry had not packed. It just seemed too good to be true that he was going to be rescued from the Dursleys after a mere fortnight of their company. He could not shrug off the feeling that something was going to go wrong. His reply to Dumbledore's letter might have gone astray. Dumbledore could be prevented from electing him. The Dumbledore might turn out to not be from Dumbledore at all, but a trick or a joke or a trap. Harry had not been able to face packing and then being let down and having to unpack again. So, yeah. And if we remember in Order of the Phoenix, Dumbledore spent most of the book actively avoiding Harry, only to later explain at the end that, well, because of your connection with Voldemort and using your occlumency, he can possibly influence your behavior. Also, I've gotten way too attached to you given what I have to ask you to do. If he'd explained, literally, any of this to Harry up front, that book would have gone much, much differently. Because he doesn't explain things. He does what he wants to do, he thinks he can keep all his cards close to his vest, and, well, Sirius died as a result of Harry not being prepared. And this is not the only time Dumbledore has kind of set Harry up in a position to walk into danger. Like, third book, when Sirius first arrives on the scene, Dumbledore all but tells Harry and Hermione, I want you to go back in time and fix this. They nearly get their souls sucked out by a wandering Dementor during this process. So, yeah. Dumbledore is theoretically the bastion of hope for the wizarding world and the good guy because he's powerful enough that Voldemort is afraid of him. But that seems to be the primary qualification that he has for this role. The only wizard that Voldemort ever feared was Dumbledore. So, people trust him in some degree, even though he is politically not useful. He's very quick to stand up to Fudge and not help him, and so on and so forth, which does not set things up very well when Scrimger takes over, because Dumbledore also does not just fall into lockstep with the Ministry. He does what he wants. He does not share information with the Ministry either, though, to be fair, this is because at this point the Ministry is very infiltrated.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it's really, really hard to get past the fact that Dumbledore withheld vital information from Harry for most of his life regarding the prophecy, and then now decides, okay, let's take that seriously, when we could have talked about this years ago and handled this better and gotten you more gradually ready and given you the information you needed earlier, and we could have possibly acted and done something significant before it became a dire, dire need. But Dumbledore gonna dumble. It's for the greater good.
The greater good.
And, well, at the end of the book, Dumbledore dies. Killed right before Harry's eyes. After Dumbledore magically disables Harry to prevent him from doing anything to stop this. So, you very much get the impression that Dumbledore knew and wanted this to happen. Again, regardless of the emotional toll that it has on those around them. Harry has lost his parents, and has lost his father figure in Sirius, and Dumbledore was therefore the only other father figure he really had. Do you know what it does to someone to get orphaned 3 separate occasions?
No, because I've never experienced that myself, and I don't know anyone who has. But yeah, it can't be good.
Yeah. Like, Harry has spent this entire book also struggling with the loss of Sirius, which Dumbledore points out that he knows that Harry's been struggling with that. So, of course, Dumbledore lets Harry watch him die. It's not a great look. I mean, yes, it motivates Harry to finish what they started, but Harry was already committed to that.
He just got back from taking Harry on an excursion out into the literal middle of nowhere, where Harry had to do things like bleed on a rock to open a passageway because Dumbledore had shown him how to do so earlier, and force-feed Dumbledore a potion because Dumbledore had told him that it needed to be drunk to finish the job they came there to do. I think Harry has proven that he's willing to, follow through.
Yep, and comments don't at me. I have finished the series. I know there's more information we don't have yet, but we get that next book. We're sticking to where we have so far. But let's move on to Snape.
Alrighty, Snape. Oh my word, Snape.
So, it's been very obvious that Draco is a favorite of Snape's from day one. It could be just because he's a Slytherin, it could be because his father's influential, it could be because Snape and Lucius go way back to their Death Eater days, don't know. But the point is, Draco Malfoy is in Slytherin House, which is headed by Professor Snape, and they are on very good terms. Snape is very prone to overlooking any little indiscretions that Slytherins might get up to, while going down very hard on everybody else, and taking points away or issuing detentions like they're candy. So, if Harry's lessons from Dumbledore basically taught him that he needs to rely on himself because his role model's not going to always be there even though his heart's in the right place, what lessons does Malfoy learn from Snape?
Play favorites. Be harsh to those you don't like. And that Snape is willing to put his life on the literal line to follow up on a promise to Malfoy's mother.
Yep, so, for all the fact that the lessons that Snape teaches are very much how to get yourself ahead and how to save your own skin by, finding the right authority, sucking up properly, how to exert your influence in the right places, he's also willing to, he cares enough about Draco to be like, yeah, I will protect him. I will do the thing so he does not get punished, because we know what Voldemort's punishments are like. So, in that regard, you can say that Snape does have some redeeming qualities. Loyalty is a good quality. But loyalty to the wrong cause is where things go wrong. This is why I'm sidetracking again. I wish we had some villains from other houses, because a Hufflepuff being so undyingly loyal to the wrong cause would be a really fascinating thing to see, I think. I think the closest we've come is Lockhart as a Ravenclaw, as a minor antagonist who takes credit for the work of others because he's clever enough to work that up, but too lazy to do it himself.
Yep.
But, yeah, all the villains we see are Slytherin, and it's so tiring. It's so boring after a certain point. It's like an Avatar. Every villain's a firebender. Thankfully, Korra started to change that, but it was kind of too little too late at that point.
And that at least had the excuse of the world is literally at war with the firebenders.
Yeah, so, but I mean, even in the first season of Korra. They talk about firebenders are doing things too. I remember.
Well, admittedly, that was playing up on stereotypes.
Yeah.
But in the original, it had the excuse of we are literally at war with this country that mostly relies on this particular kind of magic. So it makes sense that the majority of enemies are going to be of that affiliation. Whereas, until about Book 4 of Harry Potter, the villains are not all Death Eaters. We have...
Well, they technically are. Because let's look at this. We have, first book, it's Quirrell, who literally is possessed by Lord Voldemort, willingly shared his soul with him. Pretty sure that counts as a Death Eater.
Yeah,
book
definitely
2,
he counts.
The villain is one of Voldemort's Horcruxes. I think he counts.
Okay, I was thinking more Lockhart in that case, but yes.
Yeah, Lockhart is a minor antagonist. He's just kind of there and he wants to help. He wants to, quote, help, but yeah. The main villain of that is Lord Voldemort's diary. Book 3, the true villain is Peter Pettigrew, the Death Eater that betrayed Lily and James.
Right.
Then Book 4, your main villain is Voldemort working through Barty Crouch Jr., a Death Eater. Every villain is a Death Eater. There's minor antagonists peppered throughout, but every primary villain is a Death Eater. And every one of those, pretty sure, was Slytherin. I'm not sure on Peter Pettigrew.
I believe Pettigrew was a Gryffindor, but I only think that because he was so close with Sirius and Remus and Potter.
Yeah, I'm going to Harry Potter Wiki. Yep, sorted into Gryffindor house. After the sorting hat pondered over which house he belonged in for over 5 minutes. Interesting.
So
yeah, we have one villain that's not a Slytherin out of the entire series. Like, one major villain behind the scenes, pulling all the strings, getting things to happen. I don't think it's ever said what house Crouch was in, but yeah. So it's every villain's a Death Eater. There's not really a way around it. And you'd think there'd be, in a world with as many different threats going on, and with later books trying to show that the world's more complex than that, like, the world is not sorted into good people and Death Eaters. Like, you have Dolores Umbridge, who was not a Death Eater, but still the most hated character in the entire series. She's not a good person. Not being part of Team Genocide does not automatically make you a good person. But I've gone off in the weeds here. Let's go back to Snape and Malfoy. So, do you think Snape is a good role model? He's not teaching the best lessons, but he is willing to, keep his charge out of direct harm.
Snape is good at keeping a promise. He is not a good role model, because, well, to be blunt, the lessons he teaches are not good lessons. He teaches how to abuse the system. He teaches how to manipulate people and how to punish people simply for being people you don't like.
So here I'm going to raise an unpopular point. How is that different from what Sirius was teaching Harry?
Honestly, it's not. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that Sirius was a good role model either.
Okay, that's fair. As long as we're consistent. I don't think Dumbledore's that good a role model either.
He's not. He's really just the best out of a bad batch. But anyway, to go back to Sirius, as we've pointed out in prior books, Sirius is a grown-up high school bully. And he's better than some in that he didn't quote-unquote peak in high school and become utterly useless otherwise. He grew up into a more or less responsible adult. Prior to going to prison, he was, a fairly normal adult citizen. He fought on the good guy side of the prior conflict. But at the same time, he never really grew to understand why all of the things he did as a child might have been bad. He basically tells Harry that, all of the stuff with Snape when we were kids, that was just kids being kids.
Boys will be boys.
Exactly. And he has no remorse about it whatsoever. He has shown no desire to make up for the harm he did to Snape as a child, whereas Lupin is actively trying to remedy some of the stuff he did as a result of both being a werewolf and because of his associations with the people he was friends with as a child.
And Lupin is, of the Marauders, in the best position, which is saying something considering he's a werewolf. And he was a werewolf before he became a Marauder anyway. Because let's see, James is dead, Sirius is dead, Pettigrew is working directly for Voldemort. Yeah, Lupin is the only one out of that group that can still be seen as halfway respectable. And Lupin, I think, had Book 3 gone a little differently and Snape not spilled the beans on him being a werewolf, would have been the best role model Harry could have had. Because he was very fatherly to Harry, but he was also not willing to bend the rules for him. He treated the students fairly. Like, Lupin is the role model Harry should have had, but didn't really get the chance to. For all that Harry misses Sirius as a godfather, which is fair, Harry might be better off not learning more from Sirius.
And the thing is, Lupin knows that there are times that it's appropriate to break the rules.
Yep.
He gave Harry the Marauders map back because he knew Harry was going to need it for the trouble that he would be required to get into in the future, just trying to do the right thing. But
yeah, it's also, Lupin was not the one going directly after Snape. He was the prefect, largely trying to keep them out of trouble.
Exactly.
Lupin is the responsible one. Probably because he's always had to be the responsible one because of his condition.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Snape is not really a good role model, but I agree, Sirius was a grown-up high school bully who would have been a worse role model. Snape is the opposite. Snape is the bullied child who grew up to get a position of authority and is lashing out like they never got to.
Yep. Snape is the kid that never got to be the bad guy and is now in the position to be the bad guy, and instead of using that position to make things better for people like him who were underprivileged, he is going, now it's my turn.
And there's a sad irony to this, because the child he's latched onto as who looks to him as a role model is basically as bad as James Potter, except also with money and like with the money and power of a pureblood family. So yeah, James was a jerk. Draco is prepubescent Elon Musk. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not wrong.
But there is another role model we can look at. Taurus Slughorn.
Okay, where are you going with this one?
Do you think Slughorn is a good role model?
I'm going to take a little time to think on that before I answer, because unlike the other characters that we've looked at today, we get a lot less to see of Slughorn to make that judgment.
Yeah, I'm mostly looking at him because he's introduced in this one, and I kind of wanted to counterpoint to Dumbledore and Snape as major players in the Voldemort situation, where Slughorn is just, he's not here to fight. He's here because Hogwarts is a safe place, and, well, he knows his stuff about potions. So, when we are introduced to Slughorn, the first thing we realize is that he is obsessed with status and connections and knowing people. And, quite frankly, given how the world works, networking is key. He's not wrong to know that you want to be able to know people if you want things to happen. So, it's not necessarily a bad lesson to teach people that it's important to, make those connections while you're at school and make sure you foster lifelong friendships, because people will be able to help you out one day. Like, they tell you that as early as high school. That is a huge, huge, huge focus of college. So, I don't think it's necessarily a bad lesson, but Slughorn is also incredibly vain about it and loves to brag about it and starts a club just for all of these students of influential families, just so he can have this little bubble of celebrity around him.
He also creates those arrangements, specifically for the purpose of giving himself contacts in places of power that he can then use to his own advantage.
Yeah. So, it's not a bad lesson, but he's not necessarily modeling it in the most responsible way, and we have definitely seen that his own comfort and well-being is more important than everything else going around in the world at large. So, Slughorn, I would call middling. He doesn't teach the best lessons, but compared to the stuff that Dumbledore and Snape and Sirius are setting up for those around them, or were in the case of Sirius and Dumbledore at this point, R.I.P., he's not gonna get them killed. He's not gonna create petty little bullies who think it's okay to shove you in a locker because, oh, someone in your position should not be seen doing that, I think would be more of a lesson that Slughorn would push.
On the other hand, he is very susceptible to flattery and vanity, and he is very prone to sharing information that would probably best be not shared, just because he feels like it might be advantageous to him going forward, as we saw with his interaction with young Voldemort.
Yep, I would agree with that. So, I think Slughorn is, of the main three we've talked about, Dumbledore, Snape, and Slughorn, the most realistic role model a lot of people are going to run into. But that's not necessarily a good thing. I don't know if it's necessarily a bad thing, because, well, I think we've all run into a teacher at least once who's more focused on, yes, so look at how successful my former students were, because I am a good teacher. Not necessarily a good teacher, but, you know, you can more likely run into them than you will the eccentric powerhouse with an arsenal beneath their office Dumbledore, or the lurks in a corner muttering under his breath about how much he hates everybody Snape. So, I guess the lesson here, like, at least thankfully they have other sane professors who did not have as much of a focus in this book, like Flitwick, McGonagall, Sprout. Those, I think, would be very solid role models. Like, I want to follow Minerva McGonagall around, okay? I want to learn how to be competent and not take crap from people who have no business giving me crap. I want McGonagall as my role model. She is easily the sanest and most competent person there. I do not think there's any question here.
I mean, does it surprise you, with that description of McGonagall, of confident and takes no crap, that she turns into a cat?
Does she play chess? Maybe she's Mittens.
And now I'm just thinking of the My Life as a background character Slytherin.
Yes!
Where she's
Who's
always...
good pud?
I'm the best pud.
I could actually see her doing that. She's like, you know, I'm gonna keep an eye on the kids. I don't want them to think they're in trouble, so I'll just be a cat. And then getting Scritches, like, Scritches as a kitty are great. Another role model we could look at who's gotten more focus in prior books would be Hagrid. I kind of want to put Hagrid in the means well, please do not emulate category as well.
Yes, he is definitely in the... He is definitely in that box. He is definitely the, He's trying.
Yeah,
and...
He's a very kind-hearted man who likes to keep extremely dangerous creatures around his house that could and have maimed people before. And I'm not sure I would want Hagrid, you know, to be the role model. But, you know, if I got to pick between Hagrid and Dumbledore, I think I'd pick Hagrid as a role model.
I don't think Hagrid has ever broken a person mentally on accident. I very much think Dumbledore has.
Yeah. But, yeah, this was a pretty good digression. Oh yeah, the Weasleys. The Weasleys are also good role models. Mr. and Mrs. Weasley are great. I'm not taking further discussions at this time. Go hug the Weasleys. They are amazing. I specifically mean Molly and Arthur, not Percy or Bill or Charlie or Fred or George, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, Bill's fine.
Yeah, Bill's okay. We don't really see Charlie very much, but I imagine he's okay too. They are adults with functional jobs.
Yep.
But yeah.
Not Percy, and definitely not the twins. The twins are fun.
Percy would get along with Slughorn very well. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
I think we've talked this into the ground.
That's like anyone else you want to slip in before we call this one quits.
Peeves?
Peeves is a terrible role model.
Oh wait, I do have the perfect role model in mind.
Oh no.
Sourdough.
What?
Sourdough bread. It's a bread roll.
I think we're done here. I think we're done here. See you next time.